cup of water is nothing until you're dying of thirst. Life feels endless until you stand at the grave. Friendship looks real until trust is broken. Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "It's never the value of water but thirst, never the value of life but death, and never about friendship but trust." This story of Hamid will shatter your heart, awaken your soul, and remind you of the only one who never betrays, Allah. Watch till the end, because this may be the story that saves your life. Thirst, death, and betrayal, the wisdom of Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him. It's never the value of water but thirst, it's never the value of life but death, and it's never about the friendship but trust. These words of Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, echoed in the silence of a night when Hamid sat alone under the dim light of an old lantern, staring at the broken pieces of his past. He had always thought life was about possessions, about collecting treasures, about keeping people around him by offering them wealth and comfort. But tonight, when betrayal knocked at his door louder than ever, the truth stood naked in front of him. Hamid was not an ordinary man. Born in the bustling streets of Baghdad centuries ago, he had grown up watching traders weigh gold on scales, scholars weighing words in debates, and rulers weighing loyalty with power. He had tasted both poverty and riches, and in his climb from a poor orphan to a respected merchant, he had gathered countless people around him. He thought they were his friends, people who laughed with him, dined with him, and praised him. But when the storm arrived, they were the first to abandon his ship. It started with water, a caravan journey across the desert. Hamid, wealthy and generous, was leading a group of traders and guards across the scorching sands of Arabia. They carried spices, silks, and gems worth fortunes. He had trusted his men with everything. The sun was merciless, the ground burned like fire, and their water supply was their only hope. Hamid remembered Hazrat Ali's, may Allah be pleased with him, the words that his teacher once told him, "It's never the value of water but thirst." At that time, he laughed, thinking water was just a drink easy to replace. But that night in the desert, when their barrels leaked and the camels began to stumble, he realized water was no longer a liquid. It was life itself. Men who once called him brother now looked at him with thirsty, desperate eyes. Some begged, some cursed, some even plotted. A cup of water suddenly held more value than a chest of gold. And in that thirst, the mask of friendship fell. One man, Khalid, whom Hamid trusted the most, stole into his tent at night, trying to take the last flask of water Hamid had kept hidden. The sound of hands fumbling woke Hamid. Their eyes met, one filled with desperation, the other with heartbreak. "Brother, forgive me," Khalid whispered, "but it is thirst that kills, not hunger." And he fled into the desert with the flask, leaving Hamid trembling not because of the thirst in his throat, but because of the thirst in the soul, the thirst for loyalty, which he would never taste again. The next day, many men fell to the sand, lifeless, their lips cracked, their eyes open to the merciless sky. And Hamid kept walking, whispering to himself, "It's never the value of water but thirst." But the desert was only the beginning. Months later, back in Baghdad, Hamid thought he had survived the worst. He rebuilt his business, regathered wealth, and surrounded himself with people again. He told himself that life had value because he was alive, because he had survived when others didn't. But then came the illness. A plague spread through the city, silent and cruel. It knocked at every door, took away children, mothers, fathers, and friends. Hamid tried to use his money to shield himself. He bought the best herbs, the finest doctors, and the cleanest food. But when death entered his own house, taking his only son, he felt the weight of Hazrat Ali's, may Allah be pleased with him. Words again, "It's never the value of life but death." He had always thought life was the treasure. But that night, as he buried his child in the cold ground, he realized it was death that gave meaning to life. Without death, life was only a long stretch of days. But with death, every moment became a treasure, every smile a memory, every word a final goodbye. Hamid stood by the grave, tears burning his face as his heart whispered, "Now I understand, O Ali. It is death that teaches us how priceless life is. The plague passed, and once again, Hamid was left standing, alive but empty. He tried to find solace in friendship again. This time, he thought he would only keep those who were loyal, who stayed by him in the desert, who buried the dead with him in the plague. Among them was Omar, a man of humble means but gentle manners. Hamid gave him wealth, gifts, and trust. He told himself, "Here is a brother who will never betray me." For years, they built a business together. Hamid gave Omar access to his books, his keys, his treasure chests. Omar was closer than blood. But one night, when Hamid returned from a long trip, he found his house ransacked, his gold missing, and his people gone. Only a letter remained, written in Omar's hand. "Forgive me, brother. Wealth blinded me. I chose silver over sincerity." Hamid dropped the letter, and his chest tightened with pain more than any illness, more than any thirst. His knees gave way, and he whispered the last part of Hazrat Ali's "May Allah be pleased with him." Words, it's never about friendship, but trust. It was trust that held hearts together, not laughter, not gifts, not time. And when trust was broken, friendship was only an empty word. That night, Hamid walked alone by the river. The city lights reflected in the water, and the sound of flowing waves felt like whispers from the unseen. He remembered every word of Hazrat Ali, and it felt like they were written for him. Written for his thirst in the desert, for his grief in the graveyard, and for his betrayal in friendship. He finally understood. Life was not about collecting wealth or friends, not about running from death, nor about fearing thirst. It was about finding the truth that outlasts thirst, life, and betrayal. It was about Allah, the one who never betrays, never abandons, never forgets. Hamid raised his hands that night and cried like a child, his voice trembling. "Ya Allah, I trusted men and they broke me. I held life and it slipped. I held water and it dried. But you, Rab, you are the one who never changes. From today, my trust is only in you." And peace, for the first time, settled on his heart. The river kept flowing, the night turned into dawn, and Hamid walked back into the city, not as a broken merchant, but as a man reborn. He lived the rest of his life quietly, helping the poor, comforting the lonely, and whispering to anyone who would listen. It's never the value of water but thirst, it's never the value of life but death, and it's never about friendship but trust. He left this world one morning in Sajda, a smile on his face, and his name lived on not as a wealthy trader, but as a man who finally understood. Subscribe now to Deen in Minute for more emotional, soul-awakening Islamic stories that will change the way you see life forever.